What's going on, everybody? It's morning, and I probably look like a sack of crap. I haven't slept all week. How's everybody doing this morning? It's true story. I'm gonna run a live video this morning for about a half an hour. So if you guys have any questions, shoot them up. Let me just mute my computer here. I got my computer up to monitor the feed as well. Make sure it makes it easier for me to answer questions. Fiona started a business this week, or we started a business this week, and we haven't gotten much sleep. We we've been busy moving stuff in down there. It's only like a block and a half away from where we live in Lebanon, so we exciting time for us, but man, we haven't slept much this week. Before I get started, guys, don't forget Massive Iron t-shirts are available at superlivingtoday.com. You can check out the link down below in the description box of any video. I'll be putting it in this video. Yeah, sorry about that. The video just froze up. How's it going, Ben? Yeah, it has to happen every YouTube video. It has to freeze up at least once, so it did early. I want to talk a little bit before I get into your guys' questions. Thank you, Bobby. Somebody asked me what I learned about powerlifting. And there's a lot I could say about what I learned personally, you know, training and all that kind of good stuff. But the biggest thing I wanted to share about what I learned from powerlifting is that what people with the right mindset are capable of. And what I mean by that is I'm not a prolific coach. I've coached about 15 people, but the people that I've coached and that have stuck with me have just shut up. They've done the work. They've put in the work. They didn't overthink things. They did what I told them to do, and we made adjustments together, and they got pretty darn strong. They got a lot stronger than they ever imagined they could. And that is really the biggest thing that I learned from powerlifting. And that can be applied to really any other sport or pursuit in life. And that comes down to, if you just shut up and do the work, that you're going to make a lot of improvements, and you're probably going to exceed what you believe is possible. Now, I put on a weight loss seminar yesterday, and I'll get into your guys' questions just here shortly, but I put on a weight loss seminar. How's it going, Young from the Philippines? I put on a weight loss seminar yesterday, and I talked about this exact same thing. The clients that I work with, when they just do what I tell them to do, not that anything I do is magical, but when they do what I tell them to do, they have a high likelihood of success, because they're more focused on doing the work and putting in the work and making the effort than they are trying to micromanage everything and try to figure out a magic way to get to their end goal. So that's the biggest thing I learned from powerlifting, is that people can get a lot stronger than they think they can get. And if they just shut up and do the work, they're going to be very, very successful. All right, guys, I want your questions. We're going to head over and work on Fiona's new business today. I appreciate everybody's support. Again, these are available at Super Living Today, new Massive Iron t-shirts. Thanks for everybody that supported the purchases. We sold like 100 of them the first week. And if you need any diet or training coaching, head over to superlivingtoday.com. All right, let's get into your questions here. Excuse me. Sean says, is push-pull legs powerlifting style? Anything can really be powerlifting style or power building style or bodybuilding style, depending on how you structure the exercises. So that is just a training split, but anything can really be fit into any type of training split. It all depends on exercise selection and whatnot. Let's see, Ben on Adventures. Let me get some coffee here. Ben on Adventure says, thoughts on pre-exhausting a muscle? Say do a few sets of 20 to 30. Here's the thing with pre-exhaustion. You don't really want to pre-exhaust before you do a big compound movement. You always want to go into a big compound movement as fresh as possible, all right? You want to attack a compound movement with as much mental focus and physical prowess as you can. You want to be mentally ready, and you want to be physically ready to attack a compound movement. So if you want, I would recommend, if you're interested in pre-exhaust, you're better off doing your compound movements, and then if you want to do some kind of pre-exhaust before some other type of exercises, you know, like a secondary compound movement or whatever, that's a little more forgiving, like dumbbell bench press or whatever, you can do that. Or if you want to do pre-exhaust on a compound movement, just make sure you're doing more volume work and not a lot of heavy work. So I hope that helps. All right, let's see. Thank you, Joshua. Appreciate it. Hey, Big Hairy Ugly Dude, do you have a specific milestone in YouTube or fitness industry in general? And what would you consider the most rewarding result for YouTube? I don't have a specific milestone in YouTube or a specific goal in fitness. My goal is to help people, and honestly, I'd like to be able to help people while I'd just like to be able to help people as long as possible. I'm 50 years old, and I'm trying to compete in an industry of a bunch of 22-year-old knuckleheads who seem to know everything. You know, that's just the nature of life, right? You have a bunch of kids who, and I say kids, you know, with tongue in cheek. You have a bunch of younger guys sometimes that are hopping on YouTube that don't have a lot of experience, that seem to know everything, and I just want to stay relevant and help as many people as I can. And that's all I really care about. Numbers on YouTube don't matter to me at all. All I care is that I connect with people. I've been doing this for 12 years, and that's all I will ever care about is people. So, and you know, we don't make a lot of money off YouTube. We never did this to make a lot of money off YouTube, and it only puts nickels in my pocket anyway. So, let's see. Chief Redfern says, advice for managing the gym and eating enough while in college and working. Advice for managing the gym while eating enough in college and working. The biggest thing you need to do when you're pressed for time is maybe try to incorporate some rest pause work. You want to shorten your workouts, and rest pause work or block training is a great way to do that. And if you need more specific suggestions, I probably recommend you go over to Massive Iron Group, my Massive Iron Group on Facebook, and ask for some suggestions. The guys over there can help you. I have a lot of videos on this channel about rest pause or block training, but you probably want to shorten your workouts. You probably need to, be a little bit more flexible and realize 2 to 3 workouts a week is going to have to work for you, and try to get in and get out in like 45 to 50 minutes, and that can be done with good planning and block training. And eating enough, really eating enough comes down to, oh, she's got a unicorn mug over.
Do you care if I use the coffee machine?
No, go ahead. She's trying not to make noise. She's such a sweetheart. All right, so yeah, eating enough really comes down to planning. One of the big issues that I see with guys that don't eat enough is they're not eating anything right out of the gate in the morning. And I would probably find a way to pack in some calories right away in the morning after you get up. That way you've already have a head start on the day before you leave out the door. Let's see, Chillin' with Quillin says, what would your advice be for someone who is 150 pounds and wants to gain muscle and strength? My biggest advice would be to check out my book, Massive Iron, because that'll give you a good base for building muscle and strength, and you can check that out over at superlivingtoday.com. If you need specific help beyond there, I started out at 152 pounds or 147 pounds in college. I can't remember. It's been like, 32 years ago, and I'm old AF. But, the biggest thing is just, and everything I teach in my book, Massive Iron, use a good exercise selection, have a diet that aligns with your goals, be persistent, get a reasonable amount of volume, and progress, get a lot stronger than you are now, and be patient. So I hope that helps some. And let's see, Muhammad says, what's better, 3 days upper lower or 3 days push pull split? In my opinion, Muhammad, they're pretty close, but I would probably, if you're going to train 3 days a week, I would do an upper lower and rotate between upper, lower, upper, and then the second week, lower, upper, lower. That's probably a really good way to train. That way you're getting a good combination of frequency training, and you're getting you're getting everything in that you can during the week, and you're rotating in a way that's comfortable. Some people like to do upper lowers 4 days a week, but that's a really good way to do upper lower split. So I would give that a slight nod. Alan says, what are your thoughts on the cambered bar squat? There's more than a few specialty bar squats or specialty bars out there that people use to squat. And at the end of the day, it really comes down to what you like and what your goals are. And I know that sounds like a cop-out question, but anything like that is a decent option if it fits your goals, if it fits, what you're doing in the gym. A lot of people, ask me why I use a buffalo bar or a bowed bar when I squat. It's because the bigger you get, the more pressure you usually have on your shoulders by getting your hands back here during a squat. And a buffalo bar or a bow bar just allows me to relieve a little bit of pressure. So my point here is that any bar that you can squat with may have value depending on your needs and what you're going through in the gym. So Young says, Will strong, I believe it's strongless 5x5 with added incline bench, curls, tricep work, and side raises get me a good body. Anything can get you a good body. Any workout can get you a good body if you attack it properly. Yes. Do I think it's the most efficient program? No. I don't really believe there's any need to squat 3 times a week, especially if you want good lower body balance and good lower body build. There's a lot of guys that can build up their squat, and yet they don't have the biggest quads in the game. So I don't like squatting 3 times a week. I think it's overkill, especially for beginners that are learning their form. I'd rather see you do squats and something like a leg press on the second day. But yet, to answer your question, any workout can help you build muscle and strength. Let's see. Hey, you're doing wonderful this morning. Just wondering, how many calories should you consume if you're lifting heavy 2 to 3 times a week? If you're lifting heavy 2 to 3 times a week, the calories you should be consuming really depend on what your maintenance level is and what your goals are. If you're trying to build muscle, you probably should be eating a few calories above maintenance level. So there's no specific number I can give you. That's something that you have to figure out depending on where your weight is and what your goals are. So it's really hard for me to say. And let's see, what's the muscle group that gets you the most soreness? Well, let's talk about soreness for a minute, and let's do that after I have some caffeine. All right, muscle soreness. Soreness. There's a lot of misinformation on soreness. A lot of people that believe that the soreness they feel actually comes from the muscles. The reality is that the fascia that's in the muscles and around the muscles is much more neurosensitive, or it has a greater degree of neurosensitivity, I believe you call it, which means that basically when you get sore, it's the fascia that is actually sore and stiff and not the actual muscles. So the soreness that most people feel is from the fascia and the muscles, probably a huge majority of it, and not the actual muscles themselves. And this is why you notice that some muscles appear to get more sore than other muscles, and some, like shoulders, you can never get sore. Why is that? Well, it's not due to how hard you are working a muscle. It's due to the different makeup, the fascia makeup and the connective tissue makeup and whatnot. So I've always found like everybody's going to have different experiences, but my chest has always been easy to get sore. My triceps, pretty easy. My quads, etc. But I never get my shoulders. Rarely ever get sore.
My chest gets sore.
Yeah, chest. Fiona feels the same thing. My traps get sore as well. Stuck on 225 for 5, 1 year lifting. How to get to 315? I don't know if you're talking about the bench press or the squat, or you followed up with a squat. How to get to 315? There's too many variables for me to answer that in this video because I don't know your weight, I don't know your training, I don't know your form, and that's not a cop out. But I really suggest that you either hire the big hairy ugly dude as your coach, which you can do at superlivingtoday.com, or you can go over and to Massive Iron, my Massive Iron group on Facebook, and those guys will help you out. We have a really excellent group over there. So let's see. Muhammad says, but don't you have same frequency as upper lower with push pull legs? So no, you do not, Muhammad. A push-pull leg is, well, if you are doing that, if you're doing it push-pull leg off and then push-pull leg again and working out 7 days, or working out 6 out of 7 days a week, yes, you will have basically the same frequency. But what's going to happen is, regardless of how you structure a workout, you need to look at volume over the course of a week. So whether you do a push-pull leg, if that's the way you're going to do it, yes, you would have probably the same amount of volume, because you really want to look at weekly volume per body part, because that's the best way to look at any program. And with that said, if you're going to do a push-pull leg and you're going to be in the gym 6 times a week or 3 out of every 4 days, the volume is going to be the same as an upper-lower split, basically. So in that sense, the programs are going to be equal volume-wise. You're going to have frequency, but you're going to be working out more on the push-pull legs, and your recovery, it might be a little bit harder because, you only have 1 day of recovery. And depending on who you are, what your conditioning levels are, what your age is, you might need a little bit more time off. Bruce says, can I do 1 day on, 1 day off training cycles, volume intensity forever without recovery issues? Forever is a long time, Bruce. And I can't say anything will work forever, because nothing works forever. Without recovery issues, look, the stronger you get, the more the recovery variables will change. But if you want to rotate 1 day on, 1 day off between volume and intensity, you can probably do that for a long period of time. But I would suggest that when you are, after you have built a lot of strength, you might want to do a volume week and then an intensity week, or rotate. Or you might want to do an intensity week with squats and volume with everything else, and then the next week intensity week with bench and volume with everything else, and the next week intensity week with deadlifts and volume with everything else. So there's different ways to do it, but nothing lasts forever except the big hairy ugly dudes. Wise sage advice. All right, let me have some caffeine here. Rohi says, do I have any alternatives to the deadlift for someone with a lower back injury? Well, I do not know the nature of your injury. I do not know if it came from bad exercise form, or if it is something you were born with, or something that is quite severe, like a spinal injury or whatnot. But I will say, when it comes to lower back injuries or lower back, things like heavy barbell rows tend to tax my lower back the most. If your back is just a little strained or sore, rack pulls from slightly below the knee are better on the lower back. So depending on the degree of what your issue is, that's a good option. Barbell rows and penalty rows tend to strain my lower back a lot, so I don't suggest those as a priority. Dumbbell rows are a little bit more forgiving, especially if you do them for volume, 10 to 20 rep sets. Things like seated cable rows are excellent. Single arm T-bar rows are excellent. So if you're just looking for back strength, those are some really good choices. All right, let's see what we have here. Can I rotate the exercise I'm doing every single week, like bench, floor, a bench, floor press, incline, decline? Here's my suggestion. For the big movements, you have an A-B rotation week in and week out. And this is what I did for a long period of time. So let's look at chest, all right? I would do bench press and then dumbbell bench press. All right, I would rotate those two. I would do bench press 1 week and then incline bench press the next week. Those were the synergistic exercises, the tag team exercises. Then because I was doing bench and incline, I'd also do bench and incline dumbbell, and then incline barbell and flat bench dumbbell. So you can rotate all those exercises. I wouldn't rotate 4 exercises. I would rotate them in pairs. I believe that's the best way to do things, so you can keep your form tight. Let's see. YouTube itself says, got a little bit of hip impingement. I narrowed my stance, which helped a bit. Anything else I can do? I'm not an expert on hip impingements. I've never actually had that question before. I'm not sure what is causing the issue. First thing you have to do, obviously, is see a doctor. And the second thing I would suggest is going over to the Massive Iron Facebook group and talking to the guys and posting your question and seeing if any of those have had a hip impingement before. Hunter Williams says, what are your thoughts on mechanical drop sets? I've edited a few articles on them. They seem like a good idea. And the only thing I can really say is after you've been hanging and banging in the gym with your heavy compound movements, if you want to try some exercises with mechanical drop sets, I think they're a very viable way to attack the muscle and strength building process. And if you're interested in them, try them. Definitely try them. Andre says, what do you think of doing a pulling motion in the same plane before a push to protect shoulder health, like rows before bench? Here's the thing. There's been some research, some indication that doing exercises like this, like when you look at upper body training, you have a horizontal push and a horizontal pull and a vertical push and a vertical pull. Those are kind of complementary exercises. And then if you do them together, like in a superset, there's some indication that it might be a wise thing to do for muscle growth. Muscle growth. I can't speak all of a sudden. And strength, but I would do pairs like that after you do your big compound movement. What are your thoughts of doing them protect shoulder health? To do them simply to protect shoulder health, really you just need to look at overall exercise balance. Make sure that you got more back work than press work or chest work or whatever. You want to make sure you have more pull work than push work, just slightly more. You don't have to go crazy. And you want to make sure you have a reasonable amount of shoulder work as well. And most guys really don't have enough shoulder work. I recommend 2 compound movements a week for shoulders. One maybe a barbell press variation, and one a dumbbell press variation. So I hope that helps. Let's see. Go Workout says, are plyos good before lifting, or does it just waste energy? Plyos are best done after your compound movements. You do not want to fatigue major muscle groups before you do a heavy, more technical lift where form is an imperative factor in your health, and staying injury free. If you go, I've done plyos, and some days you do plyos. I do box jumps, and I do more explosive stuff some days. I used to do box jumps quite a bit on leg day, and some days you'll just some days your hamstrings just aren't into it. So I would do those after you do the big compound movements, but I would not personally recommend them before, especially if you're training for strength or muscle. And let's see here. Want to start powerlifting, but I stun my growth if I do it as a 16-year-old teenager. No, you will not stunt your growth. Weightlifting does not stunt the growth of any human being unless you walk around with the barbell plates on your head 24 hours a day. They will not stunt your growth. What are you drinking? I am drinking black coffee. How's it going, Spaceman? I have a debate with my friend. Will running sports shoes be inefficient or even dangerous with lifts like deadlifts or squats? Inefficient, yes. They're not the most. If we're talking efficiency, then running shoes or sports shoes are not the most efficient for deadlifts and squats by any means. Now, deadlifts and squats are 2 different beasts. Deadlifts, you want more of a flat sole for a number of reasons. Angling your foot, your heel on the deadlift probably isn't a good thing. In general, you want to kind of learn the deadlift in good form with something that's flat-footed, either socks or something like Chucks. Squats, some people just with their body types find that a little bit of elevation in their heel goes a long way. So they're 2 different beasts, but are they the most efficient for exercises like squats and deadlifts? Probably not the most efficient. Brett Wild says, What do you think about the M140 workout by Ben Peklewski? Never heard of it, but I will tell you what I teach everybody else on this channel is that any workout will work if you bust your nuts and do it properly. And if you're not sure how to maximize any workout, my book Massive Arm, which is at Super Living Today, get you a t-shirt too. My book Massive Arm, which is at Super Living Today, teaches you how to maximize any workout, so you should check that out. Andre says, do you sew? Do I sew, Fiona? No, I don't sew. I just lift a lot of crap around for the lady that sews. That's what I do.
That's true.
I just
You do the heavy lifting.
yeah, I do the heavy lifting, and I just protect her from bears and stuff. Right.
That's why I married you, to lift the heavy shit.
How's it going, Christian? How's it going this morning? Rohi says, on the note of footwear, what do you think of barefoot squats and deads? You know, I've seen people do it, and look, you know, the thing that always like gets me anxious about barefoot squatting or even squats and deadlifts and socks is like, what you gonna do when your feet sweat and you're on those rubber mats and you start to slip? I want a little bit of traction somewhere. You know, I want a little bit of traction somewhere, because that scares the crap out of me. Maybe I'm a little bit misguided. Maybe I'm just an old paranoid fool. But, you know, I don't like them for that reason, because if my feet get, you know, a little bit salty and sweaty and you're on those rubber mats, I just fear you're going to slip. So that's my foot.
Especially if you're lifting heavy.
Yeah, if you're lifting heavy. Let's see. Scooby says squatting is not good when you're over the age of 50. What do you think? You know, Scooby puts out a lot of good information, but that generic advice is really nonsense. I mean, when you're over 50, and I'm over 50, you know, you probably have to be a little bit more reasonable with heavy lifting. Maybe you don't lift with a greater degree of intensity as frequently. But you could still do 225, 275, 315 pound squats for volume. You're going to be fine. So it's really generic advice. And if he truly did say that, that it is not good, then that is really bad advice. It's really bad advice. And it's advice that tends to hurt more people than it helps. And therefore, it is bad advice. Scooby is just a dog. I don't like to refer to anybody as a dog. Scooby puts out pretty good information. He's not everybody's cup of tea. He's not always my cup of tea, but I respect him because, you know, I haven't seen him sell out in this industry. So John says, are you still training with your Bulldozer principle? What's the best splits for using it? I do it occasionally. Like you know, where we're at right now, you know, honestly, I have like quite a few clients right now, and I spend my days, you know, trying to give my time to them. So when it comes to my personal gym training, we just kind of do what we can do right now, to be honest with you. We just kind of survive and thrive and do whatever we can. Yeah, we just kind of survive. So I'm not actually doing Bulldozer training right now.
I don't even know what that is.
It's rest pause. What's the best split for using it? In my opinion, like Bulldozer training or rest pause training will leave you very sore. It's an intense type of training that is excellent for progression, but it's particularly really good for muscle building. And I like 4-day splits. I like 4-day bro splits on it, and the people that don't like bro splits don't want to hear this, but you know, I get pretty sore on that style of training, so I like a 4-day split. That's like chest and triceps, back and biceps, rest, and then shoulders and traps, and then legs. That's a really good split for that. Let's see. Wayne says, regarding, I just want to make sure I don't miss anything. Wayne says, regarding squatting barefoot with socks, that's what I do, and when the mats get sweaty, I just chalk up. That sounds good. Whatever works for you, you know the risks, and you've problem solved it, so that sounds good. Let's see. Brett Wallace says, thanks, Steve. Watch every day. Love Fiona, too. Thank you, Brett. We really appreciate your support. Fiona appreciates your support, too. I couldn't do any of this without this wonderful woman.
Is he staying sexy?
Yeah, this shirt doesn't stay sexy, people. Watch out your
sweaty and sexy.
Yeah, don't be inappropriate on my channel. All right. Kenneth says, hey, Steve, do you do yoga or something else for flexibility? Not really. I mean, we stay so incredibly active, Kenneth, and that's not an exaggeration. I mean, we bought a TV like, what, a month ago, and we watched it for like 5 minutes, just like, okay, we own a TV finally now. We actually stay pretty active, and, you know, we don't have a lot of time for flexibility training. Yesterday we did a confidence building hike. We were out for 5 miles helping people hike, taking people on a hike. Before that, I did a weight loss seminar. Before that, I had 3 hours of sleep. So that's probably pretty true. We spent all week working with clients and helping Fiona's business get established. So we just really don't have a lot of time for flexibility training. I wish I did. I have a yoga business literally right there. It's literally 10 feet from my finger across the alleyway in Lebanon, Ohio. But I haven't made it over there yet. Will FBW every day with exercise rotation exactly like this? Okay, I'm not sure what. Oh, full body work. That's a lot to digest, but let's see. Deadlift squats, hex squats. The base looks okay. The base looks okay. I'd really have to look at the program. So, you know, it looks solid, but again, it's going to come down to how you apply it. All right, Andre says, do you notice any difference between your generation and this generation growing up? The biggest differences in generation. I'm not going to be like an old dude that's going to say in my day, you know, all that we were superior. We walked 80 miles to school in the snow.
Because you called the bus.
I didn't catch the bus. I walked in snow. But the biggest difference in generations is, you know, my generation was always outdoors, always outside, especially during the summer.
Riding bicycles?
Riding bikes, playing baseball all day, staying active. We just were. We had an Atari, and at night, I would come in like at 9 o'clock at night and play the Atari, you know, Space Invaders and Pac-Man for like 3 hours, and then get up and live outside all day. But the new generation, you know, has more anxiety, more depression. They're always plugged into social media. They can't escape bullies and dictards and asshats, and they're just swamped with information. And you know, honestly, if I was a 16 to 17-year-old kid and was swamped with information, and I would probably be pretty confused with life if I didn't have good guidance. So no matter who you are, no matter where you're at, find people you trust. Find someone that you trust for good guidance that can help you process the information. SC Ab Reyes says, for overall health, powerlifting or bodybuilding? For overall health, power building. Power building. The combination of strength and muscle will help you for overall health. Being able to move a washer or dryer by yourself, to pick it up like a bear, the ability to fight bears and have a chance to survive. I like the combination of both. So
I just hide behind John.
Garrett says, woo woo live chat. Hey Garrett, thanks for joining us. Let's see, Danielle Khan, should your rowing strength be equal to your bench strength? Absolutely. That is one of the things I try to teach people, and that's barbell. Barbell row compared to barbell bench press should be pretty equal. Andre says, do you remember the first time getting drunk? I think everybody remembers the first time they got drunk, because they were probably drinking that cheap, nasty beer that tastes like water or pee-pee. Paps or red, white, and blue or whatever.
And you probably spewed.
And you probably puked. So I don't remember specifically the first time I got drunk, but I know I chuffed a few times in my life. So Eric from Earth says, hi Steve, I'm 28 and think I've just hit my intermediate, maybe high intermediate stage in lifting. Everyone says things like start going downhill after 30. Will I be able to hit my potential? Eric from Earth, I did not reach my strength potential till I was at my strongest physically at age 46 through 47 through 48. And you know what? Even now, I'm stronger than every kid in the gym. I am. I mean, it's not a back padding thing, but we have a lot of really strong lifters in the gym. And Eric, you know, I haven't bench pressed heavy in a very long time. and I'm doing 235 by 10 sets of 10 on the bench press. So things don't go downhill over 30. They only go downhill if you let them go downhill over 30. And people believe they go downhill over 30 because they let themselves go. They lose themselves in their marriage and their kids and their life. And they forget that you need to continue to take care of yourself. Having kids, getting married, is not a reason to stop taking care of yourself, but most people do. All right, Bruce Bronson says, hey, what ways have life gotten better after 50? That's a very good question. Were there times in your life where you felt like it was difficult to continue? The best thing about being old is that, A, you learn to be yourself, and you learn that, like, when somebody tries to bother you, you tell them to get lost. You're not afraid to stand up for who you are. You're not afraid to stand up for your space. You're not afraid to stand up for your time. You're not afraid to politely tell people to take a hike. A good benefit is you actually know how to have adult relationships and treat a woman in many, many ways. Quality of life is much better because you've made all the mistakes, and you're equipped if you're not an idiot. And there's a lot of idiots out there that don't learn from your mistakes. But if you learn from your mistakes, life just gets better, especially if you continue to learn. Fiona was going to say something.
You found me.
Yes. And I found her, and that's the main reason why life is better over 50. So
Exactly.
yeah, it don't get any better than that. Steve, Diamondcraft, Steve, have you ever smoked? And if you did, how did you quit? That's a very good question, Diamond. I was in the military at Fort Lee, Virginia, which is near Richmond, Virginia. And if you're familiar with Richmond, Virginia, there's actually, like, Philip Morris, I believe it is actually like 5 feet from the military base. And they would give soldiers cartons of cigarettes for $3. Cartons. Wrap your head around that. They would give soldiers cartons of cigarettes for $3. And I was out in the woods all day long, and I started smoking. There was nothing else to do. So there was a period in my life where I smoked. It was a very short period of my life, and do I regret it? Absolutely. But it was extremely difficult to quit. It was extremely difficult, not just the physical addiction, but wanting to have something after a meal, etc. So it is extremely difficult. Let's see here. Let's see. Can you build a massive squat if you cycle intensity every day? You can build a massive squat pretty much doing anything if the approach is wise and if you are listening to your body and trying to get stronger. The Bearded Powerlifter says, what's up, Steve? It's Andrew Clark from Facebook. What's going on, Andrew? Andrew wanted me to talk about powerlifting today, so I did as an opener. And thoughts on partials, accommodating resistance, box squats. I personally got great carryover to my raw lifts. You know, I like accommodating resistance. I like partials, and I don't care what any of the, you got to process yourself, because there are people that get on YouTube Fitness that say they have no value. Anybody that says anything that doesn't have value, just makes a blanket statement, is an idiot. They simply are, because everything can have value. I like deadlifts from 3 to 5 inches off the ground. They're more friendly on my lower back. And I believe if you build a strong back and strong quads, that you're going to have an incredible amount of power off the floor. And that working the deadlift from 3 to 5 inches is going to be more lower back friendly. There's so many dynamics and so many variables that people that spread this generic advice that something doesn't have value, they don't understand the broader picture because they don't have any experience. They've never coached people, and they're probably pretty weak and just fools in general. So, once you've built up a lot of tricep strength and tricep size, like the big hairy ugly dude, my lockouts, I'm like, I want to see how much more I can build up my lockout strength. I want to see, like, I have strong triceps, I have big triceps, but I'm not satisfied. So I would really overload my lockout. I want to get my lockout as strong as humanly possible. And my powerlifting philosophy has always been get every muscle group from head to toe as strong as humanly possible and treat every muscle group like a weakness. If you do so, you are going to be a freak. So even though I had a lot of tricep strength, I continued to find ways to train it to make it stronger. So I believe accommodating resistance and partials have value, and people that say they don't are simply short-sighted fools. All right, here, Spaceman. I've always had motivation and discipline when it comes to working out, and I've realized a lot of my friends have lost motivation. Do you have any tips to get them motivated? No, but I do have tips that you need to think about. Tightening your friend circle. You need to surround yourself. We have a lot of friends. We have a lot of acquaintances. We try to get along with everybody, and we don't judge people. We try to see people for their potential, but your inner circle has to be small, and you have to be surrounded by like-minded people. There's no way you can motivate other people. Like, you can't influence them. You can't step into their life and change them by taking steps. The only thing you can do is do what you're going to do and hope that they're watching. I've said a couple times yesterday, when it comes to diet, first people laugh at you when you make life changes, and then they ask you what you're doing. So that's the best you can do. And you just answer their questions when they have questions, and that's really all you can do. But you really can't motivate people. Motivation comes when people start to make small steps over time. They gain confidence, they gain more motivation. Just be yourself, kick ass, and take names, and hope they're watching. Thank you for your service, man. Much respect from Israel. Thank you, and hope all is well and safe for you in Israel and you and your family. Let's see. Brett Wallace says, go ahead, pat your back. You work your ass off and tell Fiona I said, say super sexy. Fiona will always stay super sexy. I don't know about me, but I'll try just to keep up with her. Hey, Steve, thoughts on novice building legs with trap bar deadlifts, split squats, belt squats, and lunges if back squats and front squats are limiting? Yeah, I mean, do what you can when you can to build as much strength as possible. I'm a big fan of quad strength, so do what you can to build as much quad strength as possible. Steve, would you say overhead press is better lift than bench press? Do both. Don't do those comparisons that is one better than the other. Do both. There's way too many benefits to doing both. So one is not better than the other. I don't like programs that only have overhead presses. I don't like programs that only have bench presses. Do both. Be a beast. Be a freak. Get both strong as possible. Sorry, I'm trying to go quick and answer everybody's questions. What's your philosophy? I'm sure it entangles with your training ethic. My personal philosophy and my life philosophy is get up every day and do what the fuck I want to do, and not to bottle myself into a corner, into like, this is who I am, this is what I need to be today. I am a hiker, I am a power lifter. That's who I was yesterday. Today I might get up and be a painter. Today I might get up and be a cigar aficionado. Don't bottle yourself in. My life philosophy is get up and attack the day, try new things, learn new things, go new places, go on adventures. You learn a lot, you experience a lot of new things. It opens doors, and you evolve as a man and a woman over time. So, there are certain lifestyles I like today, but my philosophy, my life philosophy is get up and attack the day. Try some new things every single day. You're going to find some things you like that you didn't know you like, and it's just going to open doors. You're going to evolve as a person, and you're going to live a wonderful, full life. Yeah, I mean, heaps of people. Steve, what are your thoughts on clicking knee pain? I've had clicking knees forever, and I don't really know how to cure that. I don't really know the cause. I'm sure there's a number of causes. If you're experiencing pain, I would just simply go to a doctor, especially if you have clicking knees. It could be a meniscus, ACL, all that kind of good stuff. I don't know. So let's see. What are the essential pieces of a home gym equipment? Obviously, you want to have a rack. You probably want to have a rack that you can bench in and squat in, because where you can set the pin heights. You want to have a bench. So you want a rack that you can bench and squat in. You want to have a bench. You want to have a few horse mats or floor mats. You want to have a barbell. You want to have a decent amount of plates. And you probably want 2 pairs of hex dumbbells. The smaller dumbbells, hex dumbbells, and then a larger one, at least 18 inches. The reason is you don't want to be the guy, and I ran into this, where I was doing dumbbell rows with 180 pounds, and then I would have to switch them down to like 30 pounds to do like, I don't know, rear delt flies. That was just a pain in the butt. So having two pairs of dumbbells really helps. Let's see, 225, 5x5 and bench. I'm plateauing at 225, 5x5 and bench. I want to go to 4x10 next. Should I stay way lighter than I need to progress? If you want to go to 4x10, you probably, if you're at 225 by 5x5 on bench, and you want to work up to 225 by 4x10, I would probably drop down to like 200 by 4x10. And then when that feels manageable, push that last set or those last two sets for as many reps as possible. So drop down to about 200 by 4x10, do the last two sets for as many reps as possible. If you get over 10 reps on the last two sets, then add 5 pounds in the next week. So you're going to get in more volume. You're going to be pushing those last two sets to the limit, which is going to recruit more muscle fibers. And that's probably a really good, really good approach to building up your bench. Let's see. Do you think Larry Wheels would be more successful in powerlifting or bodybuilding? I've heard of Larry Wheels, but I don't actually watch his channel. I know he's a big, beefy, strong guy, but I really have no opinion. Guys, don't bring in Israel and military aid on this channel. I will block you. This is not a political channel. This is not a religious channel, and I do not deal with bullshit on my channel. If you don't know that, the next comment about Israel or military money is getting blocked. Pendley rows or barbell rows for novices. I like the Pendley row because the barbell row people tend to do them incorrectly because of all the bodybuilders that are doing them incorrectly. So I would prefer Pendley rows, learning Pendley rows first. What are your eating habits like? Have you ever tried OMAD? I'm not sure what OMAD is. Eating habits, I eat like 2,800, 2,600 calories a day, a lot of protein, and I do a lot of meal prepping on Saturday, a lot of eggs, a lot of vegetables. We do chicken, shrimp, beef. It's a lot of meat, it's a lot of vegetables, it's a lot of eggs, and we do a lot of black rice. Sometimes we mix black rice with rice, and I usually have a protein bar every day as well. As a fellow musician, how has power building and bodybuilding applied to each other's skills and areas of your life? Anything that you do, in the gym really will equip you for success in other areas of your life just because of the discipline required. So that's the biggest thing. But, there are two different endeavors. Music is just a creative thing, and it's actually something that allows me to get away from all the gym stuff because that's my life, like 16 hours a day. And it's just an escape where I unplug from everyone and just get creative. So let's see. Do you believe that most people can continue doing linear progression longer than they think? I don't like linear progression. I'm not a fan of linear progression because it has a limited run, and I don't believe it's the most efficient way to train. Will it get you big and strong? Yes. Is it the most efficient way to train? No. I don't like randomly trying to add 5 pounds to a lift each week. I think it's an idiotic method, to be honest with you. It's like I'm going to add 2 pounds every week. Why? It's like I'm going to deload every 3 weeks. Why? You're arbitrarily putting numbers or goals every week, and I don't like that type of training. Will it work? Yes. Is it the best way of training, progressing? No, it's not. It's arbitrary, and I don't like arbitrary methods in the gym. Let's see. Favorite meat to put on the grill? Free. Honestly, no, I'm just joking. Favorite meat to put on a grill? Always steak. Always steak. Pork is good as well. Bratwurst, obviously. Bratwurst and steak. I'm stuck at 135 pounds for a while because I'm not eating enough. Eat more. That's I'm not being facetious. I'm not being insensitive. You need to eat more. If you're stuck, if your bench press is stuck and you know you're not eating enough, you simply need to eat more. What are your thoughts on training without music? I like music. When I was a power lifter, I liked all the aggressive music. It got me in the right mood. But when it comes to, nowadays I'm just trying to take care of my hearing because I'm a musician as well. So I prefer training in silence these days. But when I was a power lifter, I liked music. Let's see. Are you a fan of the vertical diet by Stan Efforting? Well, I mean, there's good and bad things by it. I have somebody that I work with that uses it. A lot of the structure behind it, I think, is maybe slightly misguided, slightly bro-ish in nature, but overall, it's a good way of eating. And I think when it comes to anything like that, you need to approach it from a scientific and a reasonable manner. And you need to, not just dive all in because it's Stan Efforting. You need to say, and the same thing with anything I give you guys. You need to dive in and say, I'm not just going to follow it because it's the big, hairy, ugly dude. I'm going to do my own research. I'm going to see what works for me. I'm going to see if this is reasonable, stacked up to science. And at the end of the day, if you like it, do it because it is whole foods. Were you a Slayer fan back in the day? Absolutely. I am still a Slayer fan today. Steve, what are your thoughts on depression and how to overcome it? Mine's related to body pain, which never ceases. Depression is a hard topic to approach. And I will say this. Life is a summation of choices. Life is a journey of choices. And we all have struggles. And anyone that just gives you blanket advice about depression, how just be happy or just do this and you'll be less depressed, is generally a fool because they don't understand life and struggles and depression. And when it comes to depression, in my opinion, one of the best ways to help is to look at life as a series of choices. What is your next choice? Try to make the best choice physically, mentally, emotionally, that'll put you in a position that you'll have less stress, you'll have less demands on yourself, and you're doing what you like to do. So try to take every choice seriously. Try to not be anxious over choices. Try to make good choices. Over time, you'll train yourself to make better choices. And as you take these choices seriously and you become physically healthier, you'll become mentally healthier as well, and you'll gain confidence, and that'll help you in your journey. So that's the best thing I can say. What music instruments you play? I play guitar, I play electric guitar, I play bass, and some piano. Should I take advice from people who are on gear? You can take advice from anybody that's sane. Being on steroids or not on steroids isn't a reason to trust people or not trust people. If that were the case, we probably shouldn't trust really any professional athletes who are some of the most skilled and educated in the world. I mean, most athletes take something that is performance enhancing, especially if they're at a top level. So the advice that you shouldn't take training advice from people on gear is really foolish. It's like taking only advice from people that aren't on gear is foolish as well. You take advice from the good people, the people that understand what it's like to grind it out, and that can give advice to everybody and that have been everywhere and that actually train people. What is the best thing to bring up weak hamstrings? That's a very good question. You want to have a good base of exercises, a good base of compound movements and isolation movements. And there are a lot of hamstring exercises you can't simply do in most gyms, like glute ham raises. All right, sorry, I froze up again. Thank you, YouTube. But you probably, you just first and foremost want to take your hamstrings seriously. You want to get your squats up. You want to do like dumbbell or barbell, Romanian deadlifts, leg curls. There's other things like glute ham raises that you can do as well. Let's see. What is your favorite part of history? Tomorrow. That's true. What is your favorite part of history? I really don't, man. I don't have. It's a fair question, but I really. Yeah. My history is tied into like baseball and home runs and all that kind of stuff. Steve, how detrimental is it to lose some form during 20 rep squats? They're more forgiving because you're not have a lot of weight on your back, but if you're losing tightness, you probably need to drop down to maybe 12 to 15 rep sets. Do you have any favorite topics to talk about in your videos? Not really. I mean, my biggest thing is just being able to give you guys information that will help you and that help people progress. How do you identify weaknesses in lifts? Peter, that's a good question. And as I stated earlier, and many times, my philosophy is to attack everything in the human body as a weakness. And if you do so, you will build strength and you won't have to worry about weaknesses. Any tips about using your hams and glutes on deadlifts? Yes. You should concentrate on driving your hips forward to lock out your squats and deadlifts. Any plans on making longer videos, podcasts? Maybe sometime in the future, but right now my plans really revolve around doing personal training and helping clients online. Guys, I'm going to hop off. I've been 55 minutes already. Just a reminder, if you need help, diet or training help, check out superlivingtoday.com or check out the links below. I do diet coaching. I do lifting coaching. If you want one of these Massive Iron t-shirts, go over to superlivingtoday.com. I don't mark them up. They're pretty cheap. And check out my book Massive Iron at superlivingtoday.com. Thank you, Garrett. I appreciate it. So, guys, hope this video has been of some help. If you have any questions or comments, drop them down below. If you made it this far in this video and have yet to subscribe to my channel, please do. I'd appreciate the support. So, guys, as always, thanks for watching and
Stay super sexy.
Stay super sexy, people. The fate of the world depends upon your sexiness.
The only way you can do it is if you wear a super sexy shirt.
Yeah, Americans always save the day.
What do we do?
You give us, like, I don't know, cat.
Motivation?
Yes, we love you, Australia.